Martial World Teyvat Chapter 37, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. After I got the puppets in order to work to keep everything flowing and dealing with the corpses of the nightly gathered Cthat seemingly infested Liyu, I was sitting with Keqing in my lap as we were in my cultivation tank at the highest level I felt comfortable with. And in order to cultivate at a higher efficiency while in the darkness of the tank, she had shed her top dress, leaving her in her pantyhose as she leaned her bare back into my chest as I wrapped an arm around her stomach. The cultivation tank at this current time had more than 20 times the spiritual energy density compared to outside the factory dome, and combined with my young ceiling physique that multiplied all cultivation with a woman by 5. That meant that the energy density for Keqing after being filtered through my body was literally 100 times denser in terms of the spiritual energy value that she was absorbing currently. Even if my shit physique made cultivating much more difficult for myself at this point, I was still basically cultivating within the range of 10 times density in the amount of spiritual energy I was absorbing, to say nothing of the bits of energy leaking into my body from Keqing's feminine form. Your physique still belies belief in its advantage to women. No wonder the last two inheritors of this physique had their bodies turned into blood pills to help a couple of nascent soul and saint-ranked martial artists reach immortality. Keqing spoke softly as her hands encircled mine. I gave a wry smile and I couldn't help but ask almost teasingly, "Are you and Ningguang going to eat me up then?" Keqing was silent for a long moment, making my gut twist up before she said frankly, "No. I would explode and die from the energy in your physique as only as a saint-tier martial artist can safely digest a special physique. And you have proven far more valuable alive to Ningguang than dead, as with the spirit stones you are pouring into her coffers, her own golden path cultivation technique like your own will help push her further." My lips twitched as she didn't at all say, "No, of course not. I love you and would never do that. And Ningguang isn't evil, so of course she wouldn't do that." But then again, this was a cultivation universe, so getting my head all tied up in knots was useless. Instead, I just powered ahead. And by that, I meant that I pushed down my angst by bravely grabbing Keqing's breast with a hand, making her sharply inhale as I whispered into her ear, "Now that's just lovely to hear." She stilled, and then she slowly turned around in my lap in a smooth movement so that her purple diamond-shaped eyes were meeting mine as she raised an eyebrow before I gave her titty a squeeze before letting go and making her huff in amusement. "Shush, don't get bothered by what-ifs," Keqing said as she held a finger to my lips. Then I saw a smile enter her eyes as she removed the finger only to replace it with her soft lips that met mine, and I felt the deeper connection form from the kiss, and a series of loud cracking noises ring out within my body as I groaned into her mouth as it finally happened. I broke through into the key condensation realm, the first martial arts realm, along with the Golden Path's foundation establishments diagram finishing and lighting up within my dantian, filling my body with a true cycle of spiritual energy. Our kiss broke apart with Keqing looking at me with joy as she giggled happily. "You broke through with a kiss, haha. It's like the dirtiest of books, and we weren't even properly dual cultivating, haha." I couldn't help my own laughter as I felt my hands pop with power with the ki I had running through my body. But that reminded me, the martial arts I had were, frankly, dog's hit that only clanless practitioners who couldn't even afford access to a dojo had. I am going to need to hunt down some actual martial arts to further refine my body, I thought before a series of harsh knocking rang out from the metal door leading out of my cultivation chamber, with the small slit being opened up for if someone needed to talk to me before I could unlock the door. I felt a surge of spiritual energy. "Was that you breaking through, Jake?" Yelan's voice came through the small speaking hole. And I called out with clear happiness, "Yup. Breaking through to the first level of cultivation and martial arts in a month and some change isn't so bad, haha." Sure, only reaching the first level may not have seemed so special. But considering there was only 6 mortal levels to cultivation and martial arts, that meant that I was making decent time. There was silence for a bit before Shinha's voice came through with some curiosity. "Can I come in and cultivate with the heightened spiritual energy in there?" I could feel Keqing shiver and she managed to squeak out, "No. I am not properly dressed." To which Shinha spoke even with a slight groan from Ganyu rang out from past her breath. "That is fine, Yuhung of Liyu. We are both warriors and we are both women. I do not plan to strip down to cause stress between you and your lover." I could all but feel Keqing's stress as her eyes sparked with lightning before she visibly stilled as she looked into my eyes, and I blinked at the look in her eyes before she visibly took a breath and said, "Fine, very well, but the room is small, so be ready for your legs to be touching Jake if you come in." This was very true, as this cultivation pod was as wide as a twin bed and only like 6 feet long. It was honestly the size of a smaller outdoor shed in reality.